Little Adagio by the Angry Dango of Doom. Chapter 1. New Clothes in the McDonald's Playhouse. After finishing a cup of coffee, she placed the empty mug into the sink and stepped away from the children play wrestle in the room. She slid into her room and pulled clean clothing from her dresser. She drew them on the bed, laying face first to the pillows herself. Ugh, am I really going to be the adult of this pathetic group? Arya groaned into the pillow. She looked over to the right of the bed where the nightstand stood. The clock atop it read 11:23 a.m. She had slept in that day, knowing that Adagio would have fallen asleep, too depressed to do much more the next day. Arya pushed herself away from the bed and removed large plain white t-shirt she slept in, and dressed in her normal purple jeans, white shirt, and green vest. After putting her twin tails up with her star hair ties, she quietly snuck past the two whom were still brawling in the living room to the kitchen, where she grabbed the keys to the house, then snuck out the front door. She walked out on the concrete sidewalk before an orange blob of hair jumped out and attached itself to her waist. Arya, we're gonna get clothes. None of my old ones fit. Adagio clung to Arya with her arms encased with long sweater sleeves. What? No, we'll go later. Arya pushed the small girl off and walked back to the car again. Adagio ran up to Arya and slammed her tiny fist into her leg. Give me the keys, you stupid head. Arya held Adagio away with an open palm to her forehead. Fine, get in. No, give me the keys, she demanded. You're too young to drive, and we don't have our necklaces to get out of a ticket. Adagio's face went blank, realizing she's too young to drive anymore. Fine. We're going to McDonald's after this. Just then, the blue streak dashed out of the house before stopping in front of the two girls and breathing heavily. We're going to McDonald's? Her eyes glittered. Great, that big idiot heard us. Arya sighed. Snodder dashed into the front seat. Let's go, 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 let's go. Come on! She energetically bounced into the seat. Adagio ran the car and started slamming her fists into Sonata's side. I get shotgun. Ow, 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 ow. Stop. Okay, you get the front seat. Sonata stumbled away from the little girl's assault. Get in, dummy, Adagio said before sticking her tongue out at Arya, shooting a wave of fury throughout her being. Arya exhaled, settling herself before getting behind the wheel of their Honda coupe. She pulled the car into reverse and drove out She pulled the car into reverse and drove out to exit the complex. The roads were full of people, unnaturally, so far how late it is. A moment of movement occurred, and they were able to drive on a straight for a while. Arya looked out the right window to catch the eyes of a rainbow-haired girl and a cowering pink mound of hair on the far side of the other car. Their gaze broke, and Rainbow slammed on the gas to cut her off. Arya was forced to slam the brakes and wait out yet another red light. So, this one time, I was kind of high, and Rarity actually wanted to talk to me. Sonata started her babbling. Ugh, not this again. Adagio shrank into the corner of her seat. And she was like, Sonata, where'd you get that shirt? It's really cute. And then I was like, I don't know. It kind of appeared out of nowhere when I came into this world. And she was like, oh, really? And then I was like, yeah, really. But then Big Adagio yanked me by my collar, and it hurt, so I was like, owie. What was that for? But then Adagio was like, don't talk to the enemy, you idiot. And then I was like, why? It's over. And she was like, they're still the enemy. And that made me really sad, because I still wanted to talk to her. Sonata spewed the words like a faucet. What a fascinating story. Arya sighed, dropping her head onto the steering wheel 3 times in succession. Adagio turned around and slapped Sonata on the side of her head. Owie, what was that for? Sonata rubbed her head. You deserve it for talking about those dumb green booms. She crossed her arms smugly. Arya, he hit me. Sonata whined into Arya's ear. Arya clenched her hands around the steering wheel and grit her teeth. Arya! She whined again. She doesn't care because you deserve it for being stupid. The steering wheel creaked from within her grip. Arya! Arya snapped and slapped Adagio in the back of her head and whacked Sonata on the side of her head. The car dropped silent. Safe for the engine. No, save for the engine. Save for the... Sorry. Sorry. So, Arya sighed and dropped back into the seat. You hit me. Tears welled in her eyes. Don't cry, Adagio. You're gonna make me cry. Sonata followed. Arya's stomach dropped, knowing what will come next. What? Why would you hit a little girl? Arya broke down in tears. Arya dropped her head on the steering wheel again, while Sonata began bawling. She cupped her hands over her ears and cringed. Alright, if you don't stop crying right now, we won't get it ice cream after. She shouted over the sobbing girls. The 2 stopped immediately. We'd best be getting some damn ice cream. Adagio crossed her arms and looked away. Yay! Ice cream! Sonata cheered from the bedside. Backseat, not bedside, sorry. Arya stared at her former leader with a dumbfounded expression before the green light signaled her to carry on the road. Arya rubbed her temple with a free hand and accelerated down the road, letting Sonata ramble about the different kinds of ice cream there are in the back, while Adagio secluded herself to her own thoughts while looking out of the window. The vehicle turned one last time before the destination appeared on the right. Arya maneuvered the car into the turning lane and broke off from the traffic, and found a parking spot within the rows of cars. Finally! Adagio sprang out of the car and walked quietly to the store. Wait, you're too small! Sonata ran after her and grabbed her hand. Adagio pried at her hand. Get off me, dummy! People can't see you. You're too small. I said that badly. Sonata gripped her hand tighter. I'm not a child. She yanked her hand out of her grip. Arya quickly snatched her hand. Oh yeah, you are. No. Oh yeah, you are. Let's go. Adagio clawed at the tightened grip while she got dragged across the parking lot. Arya seized her in the cart section. No, released her. Sorry. Arya released her in the cart section. Get your cart and let's get on with this. Adagio pulled one from the long rack and pushed it in front of the two girls. I'll go ahead and see if I can find something cute. Sonata dashed out ahead of the group. Wait, Sonata! Arya called out before she disappeared into the forest of clothing. Whatever. Let's get going. Adagio turned the cart into the aisle. Arya followed, and she took her time examining each clothing in detail. She stopped in front of one. Get that! Adagio pointed to a purple t-shirt with sequence Princess written across the front. Really? Princess? Arya pulled Adagio's size from the rack. Shut up! Hurry up already! She stomped the floor in anger. Arya carelessly tossed the t-shirt into the cart. Whatever. Adagio! Look what I found! Sonata ran towards them, held out a pink shirt, also identical to the one she wore. Looks like yours. I know! We could totally be twinsies. She beamed. Adagio slapped it out of her hands and shouted in Sonata's face. No! Sonata picked the t-shirt from the floor and hung her body sadly while she walked back into the forest of clothes. Her tiny voice screeched back to Arya. Get 2 of those. 2. Sheesh, had this. So, she pointed to a pair of jeans on a table, having Arya obey. Sonata continued pointing out things for Arya to get. Sonata came back with a plain purple t-shirt. How's this? She raised her hand up to her chin, pondering her decision. guess it'll do. Put in. So I tossed the t-shirt into the cart, smiling before she dashed off again. Get those! Adagio commanded Arya to pull a pre-made outfit from another rack that consisted of a light blue shirt and matching skirt. Adagio stopped. She looked down the rows of clothing and saw a dress standing on the opposite end of the clothing floor. Her eyes glittered as she hypnotically walked towards the glitter-infested costume. Arya walked behind the memorized girl, examining the dress. It was riddled with glitter, with pink trim and a purple body. On the back were large, thin purple butterfly wings, also strewed with glitter, almost reminiscent of the dress she wore at the Battle of the Bands. I want it. Her eyes gleamed. Arya looked up at the rack. Above it read, Halloween clearance. 45% off all items. Hurry up already. Adagio stomped her foot. This? Really? She looked down at the angry orange-haired girl. Yes, let's go already. It's barely spring. I don't care. I want it. She shouted. Ugh, whatever. Fine. She tossed the dress into the cart. Adagio turned away with a content look on her face. Good. Now let's get going. Sonata came barreling towards them again, a pair of shoes with purple blinking starlights. Adagio's eyes lit up. Yes! Sonata dashed a few feet in front of the cart. Oh, look at this! Arya took the moment and faded away from the two girls and walked out into the aisle. She took in a sigh of relief and walked away from the clothing section. She found herself walking past the drink section, and the cool breeze lured her in. The shelves were packed with many different drinks, but she found herself in front of the iced tea section before she took a cool can of peach tea. She moved away from the section into the cash registers, where she quickly paid for her drink. After giving it a light shake, she cracked the tab and let the refreshing cool beverage flow down her throat. Arya took in another breath. The peace without the other two girls was amazing, but instantly broke when she caught sight of a cart with a mound of clothes, and a panicked blue-haired girl zoomed towards the registers. Adagio! Wait! Arya went missing! We have to stay put so she can find us. Adagio crashed into a cardboard stand of DVDs, scattering them across the floor along with the mound of clothes within the cart. Arya sighed and approached the two girls. Stop messing around. Let's get going. Sonata jumped up and hugged Arya tightly. I thought I'd never see you again. Get off me, you idiot. Pick up these clothes. Arya shoved Sonata, causing her to frown. Okay. She kneeled down and scooped the clothes back into the overturned cart. Arya rubbed her temples again and sighed. The two girls picked up the clothing and the cart. Arya took the cart away from the two so that no more damage could be caused. My, that's quite a bit of clothes. She stood back, astonished. I know, huh? Sana dumped an armful of clothing onto the table. Yeah. Arya shrugged her off. The cashier stepped back with the smile leaving her face. She dropped her head and began scanning the clothes. That'll be $346.17. The cashier said as she swiped the last tag. Ugh, Arya groaned, sliding the plastic card and punching in the code. Have a good day. She forced another smile before the sirens took off. Arya took charge of the card again and guided the two out of the door. Sana grabbed Adagio's hand, whom instantly tried prying her hand loose again. Arya stopped the cart. Hurry up and put the clothes in the car. She unlocked the trunk and lifted it above her head. Wait! Oh, I think it'd be something. Wait! Adagio shrieked before diving into the pile and fishing out the costume and other necessities. Give me a second. She climbed into the back seat, leaving both Arya and Sonata to wait outside. She reached her arms up into the afternoon sky, letting sorry, I'm just kinda tired. Letting the gleam of the sun catch the edge of her can of tea. She breathed in the warm and slightly humid air. The beam shone off into Sona's eyes and drew her attention to it. She gasped sharply. Where'd you get that? Arya dropped her hands down and looked at the can. I bought it. What do you think? Can I have a sip, please? Her puppy dog eyes pierced through Arya's being. Ugh, fine. Sona snatched the can from her hand instantaneously and kicked it back over her head. Arya watched as she inhaled the entire can. She let out a small burp. Excuse me. She smiled, handing back the empty can. You drank all of it. Arya crushed the can. I'm sorry. It was just so good. Arya tossed the tin at Sonata's face, slightly causing her to flinch and fall back on her bottom. Ouch! Why would you do that? She jumped on her feet and brushed the dust off her skirt. Arya chuckled to herself lightly. Adagio threw open the car's door. Get in, you stupid heads! Sonata dashed into the car, and Arya groaned before getting into the driver's seat. Take us to McDonald's now! Adagio shouted from the back seat, dressed in her new costume and flashing light shoes. Yeah, take us to McDonald's. I want a Frosty and a Whopper. Sonata jumped in the passenger seat. Arya froze before she turned the key and looked at Sonata. How good are Frosties, though? She licked her lips. You idiot! Those are from two separate places. Neither of them are there. Arya shouted. Sonata sank back in her seat. Oh. Well then, what do they have? They have hamburgers. What do you think they have? Adagio slapped Sonata on the back of the head again. Owie! Why? Because you're being stupid. For every time you be stupid, I will hit you. Sonata threw herself against the seat, pouting, sorry. While Arya dropped her head to the steering wheel again and turned the key, letting the engine roar. She pulled the car out into the street and was met with another red light. Hey! Sonata's cheer-filled voice shot through both Arya and Adagio's ears in the car. Why don't we put on the radio? Sonata clicked the button and the car was filled with pop music. Both Arya and Adagio cupped their hands over their ears. Oh my gosh, I love this song. Sonata squealed and began to sing along to the music badly and danced. Ugh! It sounds like a dying otter. Adagio yelled over the other siren while she squirmed in the seat. Arya shoved Sonata back into her seat and dropped the volume down. Don't touch my radio. The light switched to green. Sonata pouted. I was just trying to pass the time. Don't. Arya rubbed her temple. Yeah, you couldn't even sing with the necklace. Adagio slapped Sonata's head. Okay, rude. Sonata crossed her arms and pouted even harder. Arya chuckled. She's right. I could too sing. We were a trio. Yeah, and I carried you. Arya smirked. You did not. You both were terrible. Adagio punched them both in the arms as hard as her small stature could give. Sonata rubbed her arm. Owie! Arya turned into the McDonald's parking lot and parked the group in front of the store? Restaurant? Immediately, Sonata and Arya sprang out of the car and raced in. Arya followed behind them at normal pace, pushing open the front door and seeing the two children drool over the toy case. What do you two idiots want? Arya broke their gaze. Sonata jumped to the counter and examined the menu carefully. That one! She pointed. Arya looked back at Adagio, who was still inspecting the toys. I'll just get her kids' meal then. Yeah-huh. She beamed. Fine. take her to the playhouse and leave me alone for 5 minutes. Sonata gasped sharply and smiled before she abducted the small girl and dragged her off across the dining section. "Get off me!" she called at Sonata's death grip before she was dragged through a doorway leading to a large red plastic palace. Adagio's mouth dropped in awe while she looked up at the behemoth. Her gaze met the entrance. Instantly, a smirk swept across her face. Sana pulled one of her long boots off, but Adagio dashed into the playhouse. "Wait!" Sonata pulled her other boot off, and tossed it beside the entrance. "You gotta take off your shoes!" Adagio acrobatically climbed through the maze of platforms and knocked over several other children before reaching to the top chamber, where a plastic throne sat in the middle of the red octagonal room. In it sat a chubby kid slightly larger than the rest. A bruised kid laid under his feet. Adagio approached him. "Move! This is my kingdom now." What? The kid stared at her. "I said move it, fatty. Or your no, or are your ears so fat you can't hear?" The kid glared at her and stood on top of the kid, who squealed in pain. "What'd you say, princess?" Adagio bared her teeth. "Get out of here, you what? Get out of here, you fathead!" She charged at him and slammed her fist into his gut. The kid took the blow like nothing had happened. He pulled back his right arm and aimed straight for Adagio's tiny frame. She used her small stature against him and dodged left, leaving his arm hanging in the air for a second. Time froze, and Adagio saw the opportune moment. She looped her right arm under his and twisted his arm out, bringing him forward and wrenching pain into his shoulder. She locked his arm around no, she locked his arm no, wait. She locked his arm around her neck with her left hand. Okay, then twisted her body and dropped his face to the floor in one swift motion, instantly letting loose a sickening crackle noise from the shoulder and a bellow of pain from his mouth. Adagio released the crying boy and took her throne. The boy stood, nose dripping with blood, an arm dangling from within his own body. He looked at his arm and screamed once more, before sprinting out of the playhouse to his parents. The rest of the kids fled the room in terror, screaming. The boy looked up. "Thank you so much for saving me." Tears streamed from his face. Adagio climbed over the bruised boy, who still remained on the floor, and sat atop the throne. "Don't get the wrong idea, kid. I'm not here to save you." "Adagio!" Sonata crawled through the entryway. "You gotta take off your shoes." She looked at She looked at Adagio's smiling, evil smile in the plastic throne. What happened here?" "Nothing." Adagio crossed her arms and slammed the kid back into the floor. Sonata scratched her head. "Take the slides and be gone with you." Adagio slammed the kid back into the floor again and hit the side of the plastic throne. Sona's eyes glittered. All the slides? Just for me? If you get out of here in the next 2 seconds, they are. Sonata quickly crawled to the exit side of the room and jumped down the slide on her belly. Arya sat in a table across from the slide's exit and saw her fellow siren slide down, slide down, forcing her to drop her palm to her face. Arya walked over to Sonata. Our food is almost ready. Where's Adagio? Who are you? And why do you trespass of the king of the slides? Arya sighed and squeezed the bridge of her nose. I say again, who are you and what business do you have in the kingdom of the slides? Arya looked around and saw a boy crying with his mother, who was blocking his bloody nose, and many others sitting and crying. If you've nothing to say, be gone, Sonata threatened. A young boy giggled to himself as he slid down the slope. Sonata looked down at him and shouted, You do not have permission to use my slide, then shoved him to the ground, instantly making him cry. Arya's mouth dropped in shock, watching Sonata furiously shove a small child over. What? No, what? I was saying that wrong. See. What? Sonata stopped and looked at the bawling child. Oh. Get Adagio and let's go before you cause any more trouble. Arya shoved... what? Arya shoved Adagio into the entrance again. That doesn't make any sense. Sonata maneuvered the maze once more, clumsily falling over the obstacles. She reached the chamber where Adagio still remained sitting. What do you want? Her tiny voice boomed. Sonata gloomily spoke. Arya says we have to go. I don't want to. Adagio, he means it. We might not get ice cream. A look of seriousness washed over Adagio's face, and she dropped her gaze downwards. Come on, Adagio, we gotta go. Alright, fine. Adagio stepped down onto the kid and walked to the slide with Sonata. The two took the slides down and instantly were taken by Arya. Sorry. Adagio reluctantly said. Arya pulled the two towards the counter and took the bag while shoving Sonata to the door. Arya opened the door into the car, putting the two inside it before getting behind the wheel herself. Arya kept the entire car silent on the way home. Adagio looked outside the window and watched the Dairy Queen pass by in the distance. She placed her palm on the glass and shed a tear. Arya made the last turn into the apartment complex and parked the car one last time. She stormed off towards the house, unlocked the door, threw the bag on the table after she fished out her chicken sandwich. She went into her room and tossed the sandwich onto the nightstand beside her. The clock beside it read 4:34 p.m. Arya dropped down into the bed and put her face into the pillow. These idiots are going to kill me. She let an exhausted moan out into the pillow and slowly fell into a deep sleep.